Hi, everyone. Welcome back to this interesting Dr. Jaspersoft session about report splitting, long-awaited feature that our guest speaker today will walk you through it. I'm Badr Draifi, your Dr. Jaspersoft host here from Paris, and with us, our guest speaker today is Lucien Kirita, Senior Architect and Principal Engineering at Jaspersoft, joining us from Bucharest, Romania. Hi, Lucien. How are you doing?
Yeah, hello, I'm fine. How are
Thank
you?
you for being our guest speaker in this today's session. Yeah, we're looking forward to getting to know more about report splitting. If you can just go to the next slide, please. So, guys, second Tuesday of every month, as usual, our Dr. Jaspersoft session will be about Visualize.js, a JavaScript framework. Stay tuned. We're going to show you how to easily embed your reports ad hoc, filter on your reports, export your resources from your own application, all with a few JavaScript code using our award-winning framework Visualize.js. Thank you. Stay tuned. And yeah, if you can just go to the next slide, please. Yeah, so before giving the floor to Lucien, guys, please put your questions on the comment section in the right of the YouTube stream. We will be monitoring it and we will try to get to all of your questions before the end of the session. Thank you all, and Lucien, you can start with your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to talk today about report splitting, which is a feature of the JasperReports Server scheduler. And what report splitting does in a few words is allow you to schedule a single report execution and have it produce several output files, let's say. By splitting the report output into several sections and handling each section as a separate output file that can be saved independently and I don't know, transmitted to some external servers or email addresses independently. This is something that makes life easier in some cases, like when you have, let's say, some data that needs to be split according to a department or something like that. So you can have a single report that shows data for all the departments or, I don't know, some kind of subdivisions, and creating a single report execution in the server scheduler and have that single execution produce individual outputs for each department or countries or whatever subdivisions you have in the data. And this is, I don't know, this is in some cases easier than creating separate report executions for each department, country, and so on. Splitting works is based on a JasperReports library feature that's called report parts. Report part is basically let's say, sequence of consecutive pages in a report. So you can have a report that is, I don't know, it's split into several parts, each part having a number of pages, one after another. This was something that you would traditionally achieve by designing a report book. That's what the bigger feature that introduced the report parts. A report book is a main report that consists of several parts, each part being something like a sub-report, except that it's not a sub-report in the JasperReports library, let's say standard meaning, where a sub-report is some element which is placed on a page on the main report, but for report books, a sub-report produces its own pages. So it's not something that's the main report doesn't have any pages of its own. We're going to see a report book example for people that are not familiar with this feature. And these report parts are the base of report splitting in the server. So splitting works on parts. You can have one or several parts split as a separate output file in the server scheduler. And each part can specify some custom and dynamic properties to be used as job output attributes. So, for instance, if you want each part emailed to a different email address, you can have a property defined in a report that specifies the email address to which the part is meant to be sent. And then in the server scheduler, you can use this property as email recipient when defining the job. And in addition to this existing feature of report books that can create report parts, JasperReports library and server 8.2.0 introduces a feature that allows you to create parts from non-book reports. So from standard reports, which are based on report bands and which up to that version were not able to create report parts. This was something that we have implemented in order to support splitting for non-book reports as well. So let's move to, this is an overview of the things that we are going to cover today. So as I said, this feature was introduced in JasperReports Server 8.2.0, and the feature is based on report parts that can be created by report books and also by band-based reports. And this can be used, leveraged in the server scheduler. So let's start again, and we are going to see a report book created in Jaspersoft Studio. So report parts are traditionally created by report books, and each part is a range of pages in a report. Each part is displayed as a tab in the server report viewer and can specify some properties. For instance, one property that's not related to splitting is the visible property that toggles the visibility as a tab in the report viewer. So let's start with a demo and create a book report in Jaspersoft Studio. So when you create a new report in Jaspersoft Studio, there is this report book section in the templates. We are going to start with an empty book template because we don't need anything more than that. And we have some data that lists accounts per country, let's say. And we want to have each country as a separate part in the report book. We're going to name the report country book. We have a DB, a database data adapter, where we have data that we intend to display in the report. The first thing that we are going to use in the report book is a list of countries. So we can type the query and we just have a country name and an email. This email we are going to use as recipient in the server scheduler job that we are going to create for the report. So this is the book, and a report book doesn't have any content of its own. We need to go here and create a new book part. And let's start with the part that displays the list of accounts in each country. And let's choose a simple report template. Let's call this country accounts. And we use the same database connection. And we have a table called accounts that we are going to use to select data from. We are going to display just, I don't know, an account name and let's say the city to which this account belongs. We don't need any grouping. And okay, we are going to use the same BBC data connection. So now we have, this is the report part that we are going to use in the book. If we preview the data, we have this list of accounts. And actually, if we look at the cities, there are cities from several countries. So what we need to do, because we want to display accounts from a single country, we need to create a parameter so that we can know which country to display data for. And then we also need to filter this in the query. So we actually need to filter billing some address. Country is our parameter. Yeah, let's also display this in the report title. So we can have this parameter, the country. Say country, accounts. Okay, let's preview the report again and verify that, let's say, Mexico, and verify that we only see accounts from this, so we only, okay, it seems to filter the records based on the parameter. Let's delete this because we don't have anything to add there. Okay, and now if we go back to this book report, let's also fill in tab name. So we are going to use this country name. And we also need to make sure that we pass the current country as a parameter to the subpart. So we are going to pass the country field from the main report to the subpart. And let's see how the book report looks like now. So what we have now, we also have tabs in Jaspersoft Studio. So you can see that we have 3 tabs which correspond to 3 parts produced by the report. So we have Canada, Mexico, and USA. And each tab corresponds to a list of pages. So if you can see this pagination control here, we have page 1, 6, 7. Okay, so page 1 to 7 are compose the Canada part. Then from page 8 we have Mexico, and from page 13 we have USA. And in books, you can have multiple parts. So let's say we want to have some kind of, I don't know, some other information that's relevant for a specific country. So let's add something. Let's put, for instance, a landscape subpart this time. This is a feature of report books. You can have parts with different page layouts. So let's just choose a landscape page for this part. And I don't know, let's say we would want to see some kind of a summary page for each country. We don't have anything to display, but we are just going to show a page there for each country. So again, we are going to need to add this parameter so that we can pass the current country from the main report to this subpart. And let's just put it here, and let's say we have some kind of summary information for this country. Let's say this, and now we need to go here and make sure that we pass the current country to the part. So we have this country field. And let's also provide expression for the term. So you can say again, country summary. And when we preview this book report again, each country will create 2 parts. So we have this Canada that lists accounts for Canada, and we have this summary page where we don't display anything, but we could have some kind of other information displayed here for each country. Okay, now let's also publish this book report to Jasper server instance so that we can see it running there as well. So we can choose a folder. Let's keep the name as country book. And we have the two subparts that are separate report resources that need to be published along with the main book report. And we are going to use data a data source on the server for this report. Okay, so the book report has been published. If we go to the server instance, we should be seeing it there. And running it basically will show the same thing as we saw in Jaspersoft Studio. So we have these tabs that correspond to parts. We have Canada, another part also for Canada, Mexico, and so on. And this is a book report. It doesn't, so it's not yet configured for splitting. So for instance, if we run this report in the background, which uses the scheduler. So let's say we want a PDF for this report. We are going to see a PDF containing data for all countries. Okay, so this is going to take a few seconds. In the meantime, we can go on and talk about report splitting. Okay, the PDF is ready. We can see, so it has Canada. It has this landscape, Canada summary page, and then Mexico and so on. So let's continue to the splitting feature. And the splitting feature in JasperReports Server is driven by properties that are set in the report, and there is a property that triggers a split in the scheduler. This is the behind the scenes name of the property. So if you use Studio, there is a UI to set this automatically. And this property is meant to be set for parts that should start a new output file in the scheduler. So if you have several parts in a book report, you don't need to set this split property for all. If you want to group several parts into an individual output. And in addition to this, you can set further properties that you can set on the part that triggers splitting. And these properties can be used in the scheduler to provide values for output attributes of that job. Sorry. And something to note when you design a report for splitting, if you have a page one of something it's generally you want to have this pagination control relative to the output. So if you have, let's say, a big report, it doesn't make sense in most cases to show the number of pages in the whole report if that report output is split into several parts. So what you usually will want to do is to show the page numbers relative to that part only. And let's go back to this demo and just configure splitting so that we can see it. And in order to do that in Jaspersoft Studio, there is an action labeled configure report splitting. So there you can, let's say, provide the part name for which we can use again the country name. And there is this enable split flag that we can set to true in order to have separate outputs for each part. So we have set that flag. Let's save the report and republish it to the server.
So here, Lucien, is it enough to put it only in the country account, or not necessary for the summary as well?
Yes, because we want both. So for one country, we want, let's say that's what we want now. We want the accounts list and the summary in the same output file. So we don't have separate output for the accounts list and for the summary page. So we only set it for this part because this is the first one, and this one is going to trigger the creation of split output.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, so let's go back to the server and let's delete this so that we don't get confused. Now, if we run again the report in the scheduler as the background execution, what we would see in a few seconds would be 3 output files, and each output would contain both the list of accounts and the summary page for one single country. And if we want to have, so as you said, we only set the split flag for the first part. So if we want this summary page to be a separate output, we can go here and set the flag for this part as well. And let's see if the output is ready. And now we have 3 resources here. So we have a PDF for Canada, and we have the list of accounts in Canada, and we have this summary page, which has been grouped in the same output as the list of accounts. And again, for Mexico, we have the list of accounts and the summary page. And again, for USA. Okay, let's go back and continue with these additional properties that you can set for the part and use in the scheduler job definition. So what you can do in Jaspersoft Studio is to define custom properties for a part, for the part that triggers the splitting. in the server scheduler, and then use this dollar placeholder in the scheduler in order to have that value read from the part in the generated report. And what needs to be noted is that you can only do this for attributes that are used for scheduler job output, because these properties are read after the report is executed, and you can customize the output destinations based on the actual parts that are present in the executed report. So you can use it as, you can use custom properties in the name of the output, the repository location, so in output destinations like FTP or server file system, and in email notifications. And let's see how we can do that for our report. So we are going to go to this first part that triggers splitting. And we have here additional properties. We can add a property called email and provide the value from the data set that we use for this report. So I'm not sure if I show this, so if the data for this main book report looks like this, let's see the data again, because so we have a list of countries, and each country has an associated email to which we want to send the data for that country. So all these emails are my own, because I have different aliases for my email address. So we have added this email property and provided the value that comes from the data source. And let's save this report and upload it to the server again. And once it's uploaded, we can go back and let's delete this again. We can go back, and this time when we create a background execution which runs in the scheduler, in the email notification, we can use this dollar placeholder syntax and type the property name. So this will be used as email recipient for the message that delivers one individual part, and we can use, let's say, accounts. We can also use a property that is defined by default, which is the part name. Let's say we want to see this in the email subject, and we want to see report files attached to the email. So let's run this report again in the scheduler, and we are going to see the same three output files in the repository, in the server repository. And we are also going to see 3 emails coming to 3 different email addresses, but all of them being delivered to my inbox because they are aliases for my email address. So the PDFs are there in the repository. Let's see, emails might take a little longer until they are received. So what, let's go back here to show something that we have already talked about. So when you have...
There's a question here, Lucian. So let's suppose if we have multiple emails and we want to send the report to multiple emails. If you do the semicolon in our email value, then will that work?
I think it's comma as a separator.
Comma, yes. Yeah.
Yes. I think yes, you can put comma there as a separator, and you can deliver emails to multiple addresses. Okay, so the emails are here. So in Mexico, if we look, so this Mexico PDF has been delivered to, let's see, one email alias, and Canada is a different email, and USA is yet another email address. And I was meaning to show where you can use these part properties in the scheduler. So here in the schedule and parameters tab, you cannot use part properties because these attributes are used before running the report. So parts are only there in the executed report. So once the report runs, you know the parts and you can read properties from them. So you can use them here, for instance, in the file name output. So here the file name, if you don't use anything from a part, as you can see in the example that I ran, you have the part name automatically appended to this file name. But you can also do something like this. So if you want, you can put, let's say here, like so if you don't want this, the name being automatically appended at the end of the file name, you can also do something like this, for instance. And you can, of course, use this in the description. So you can say counts for this, the part name being the country, because that's how we created the report. And you can use part properties here in this, in repository, destination attributes, and file system, and FTP server attributes. And as we already saw in email notification attributes, but not in job status notifications, because this job status notification is a single email being delivered for the entire report execution. So there is no separate notification for each part. You have only one. So it doesn't make sense to use part properties here. So let's put something. So this is basically the splitting functionality. We have showed it working for book reports, and now let's see how you can do the same thing with let's say a standard band-based report. And this is something that has been added in JasperReports library and server 8.2.0, and it works by setting properties on elements in order to trigger part creation. So you can have a standard report, and if you set this part name property on a report element, that the page that the report element is placed on will trigger a part creation. So there will be a part that starts on that page. And you can set further custom properties on the same report. And what you need to take care of is having, so if you want to split data based on countries like we did, you need to make sure that each country starts on a new page, because report parts are composed of pages. And you also need to take care of this page one of something controls, so that it is relative to the current part, because you generally don't want someone who receives, let's say, part from your report to see the total page number, because it doesn't make sense for them. So let's create a band-based report as well. Let's see. So I think we had, okay. So we had that execution where we used the part name, which is the country, in the output file name. So you can see we have this Canada book, okay. Canada, Mexico, and USA files created in the repository. Let's go back to Studio and create a band-based report that we want to split into several parts. So we are going to use the same data. We are going to create this time a report that shows accounts for all countries. So let's call it all accounts. We use the same database connection. So now what we want to use in the report, we are going to, let's display the name and the city, and we also need a country in order to group based on the country. And actually, let's go back and order this by country so that we can see the data ordered properly by. And what we need to do in the report is to group data by countries and make sure that each country starts on a new page. So let's create this group. Okay, let's take a look at this, the initial report. So we have this Canada group starting, but then we have the Mexico group starting in the middle of the page, which is not what we want. So we can select the group and check the start new page flag. Now, if we run it again, we should see Mexico starting on a new page. Yeah, let's remove this because it doesn't look very good. So let's make this bigger. Okay, we also need to take care. If we look at this report, we see this page 1 of 37 on the first page of Canada, and we see page 8 of 37 for Mexico. So that's not what we want. We want the pagination to be relative to each country. So we can go here and again, selecting the country group, we can check this reset page number flag. And we also need to look at the total page number text and have it evaluate for on the group. So this is the country group. So if we look again at the report, we see Canada, and let's check, we have page 1 of 7, which is fine. And then for Mexico, we have page 1 of 4, and for USA, we have page 1 of 26. But there is something that, so we have this title band, which is only printed on the first page. We don't have it for Mexico and USA. So if we need something to print for each country, we need to use this group header, and we don't need the title band, so let's just delete it. And the report looks fine now, and we have each country on separate pages, and the pagination controls look fine. And if we save this report and publish it to the server, let's keep the name and choose a data source. So if we run this report in the server, we are going to see all the pages, but there are no tabs, which means that there are no parts in this report. So parts are something that we need for report splitting. So we need to go back to Studio, and if we look at the report, we need to pick an element that's placed on the pages where we need a new part to start. So we need to pick, I mean, this is the best candidate. We have this country name in the group header. So we have Canada here and Mexico for the second group. And that's what we need to use in order to configure report parts and splitting for the report. And again, in Studio, we have this configure report splitting dialog, and we can provide a part name. We are going to use the country name as part name, and we can enable splitting. So if we don't enable, let's see it first like this. So if we don't enable splitting for this report, we are going to see the parts when running the report here. But if we see Canada, Mexico, and USA, but if we run this report in the scheduler, we will still get a single output file. And in order to have split output, we need to set this flag. And again, we can, if we need additional properties, we can add them here and use them in the scheduler, in the job definition. So let's publish this report to the server again. And if we run this background, which uses the scheduler, we are going again to see three output files created by the report. So we basically achieve the same result as with the book report. And in some cases, it's easier to start with the book report. So book report, you have something like, I don't know, you have a main data set that lists the countries, and then for each country, you have something like a sub-report. And in some cases, it's, I don't know, more convenient to create a standard report that uses a single query to fetch all the data and group it and split it according to the field that makes sense for the data. So now again, we see these three files: Canada, Mexico, and USA. And we have a proper pagination. So for Mexico, we have page 5 out of 5. And for USA, we have page 6 of 27. And this is what you can do with report splitting.
Thank you, Lucien, for this rich and detailed presentation. That was great. So guys, as you can see here, resources, our Global Resources Center for customer success, for Jaspersoft documentations, and our community. Yeah, please, everyone, if you have any more questions related to this session, just shoot us an email or send us your question in the community. You're going to see some additional links here from today's presentation added by Lucien, as you can see here. And yeah, if you can go to the next slide, please. Yeah, well, that will be it. Soon all of our today's slides and YouTube recording will be available in Dr. Jaspersoft community page, in our Dr. Jaspersoft office hours in jaspersoft.com, and in our YouTube channel, Jaspersoft Embedded BI. Thank you all for joining, and have a great day, and see you in the next session. Thank you, Lucien.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a nice day.